So you found the perfect home and now you want to write an offer, but there are other offers on the table. What do you do? I'm here to help. Hi, I'm Carol Kennedy, an agent in the DC area. It is a very competitive market out there for buyers. So how do you create an offer that gets the seller's attention and gets your offer accepted? These are my suggestions. I hope they work for you. First, before even talking about writing the offer, have your agent contact the seller's agent and try to find as much as possible about the seller's motivation. It may not be the highest price. Maybe it's the fact that they need a long rent back because they have to purchase their next home too. Maybe it's a quick closing. So whatever that may be, you want to craft your offer around the expectations of the seller and try to meet those as best as you possibly can. The second thing I recommend is getting fully underwritten. That means that your lender, if you're not using cash, your lender has verified your income, assets, liabilities, credit score, and sent you through either an in-house or electronic underwriting process. This accomplishes a few things. So first, keep in mind that the seller wants to make sure that whoever they go under contract with is going to go to closing. Pretty much the worst thing that can happen to a seller is they go under contract, the deal falls apart, and they have to go back out on the market. Everybody kind of looks at the house a little sideways, like what went wrong? So that's the last thing a seller wants to have happen. So you need to prove to the seller that you will be going to closing and you are financially capable of doing so. And being fully underwritten accomplishes a few things. First, you may be able to close very quickly, maybe as fast as a cash offer. You have to check with your title company and make sure they can process the paperwork that fast. Make sure your lender can do it. Make sure they can get the appraiser in there in time to get the appraisal back. So a quick closing is always very desirable for the seller. The other thing being fully underwritten does is it shows the seller that you are financially capable of going to closing, and really the only way that this contract could falter is if the property doesn't appraise, or if you lose your job, or perhaps you make a big expenditure that affects your debt to income ratio or your credit score, but we know you're not going to do that, right? So it gives the seller the assurance that you will go to closing. The next thing I suggest that you do is you have the lender contact the seller's agent and sing your praises. Make sure that agent knows that you are a well-qualified candidate and you will take that property to closing. The next thing I suggest that you do is try to write the cleanest contract possible. What is a clean contract? A clean contract is a purchase offer with the fewest contingencies. The first big one is the inspection contingency. And to be able to waive the inspection contingency, you can do a pre-offer inspection. I never suggest that someone buy a property without a home inspection. Never. So with the seller's permission, you can conduct a full inspection on the property before submitting the offer to purchase. That way you know everything about the house, or as much as an inspector can find, and you can offer sufficiently. Maybe you find out you don't like the house. This is not a practice you want to continue over and over again, because they do run between $500 to $1,200. It depends on the size of the house. And if you're writing offer after offer after offer, this home search can be an expensive endeavor. The next thing you can do with the home inspection, if you can't do a pre-offer inspection, is look at the verbiage of the contract. In our area, you have the option of going in with a home inspection contingency, right to cancel, or right to negotiate, or both. Now, most agents perceive the home inspection with the right to cancel as the cleanest way to go in. It sends the seller a message that says, you need to do a home inspection But if you find anything hugely detrimental, you're only going to walk away. You're not going to come back and ask for a bunch of repairs from the seller. The other two contingencies are the appraisal and financing. So the appraisal, if you have enough cash to make up the difference between a low appraisal and the purchase price, then you can certainly waive the appraisal. Talk to your agent about what appraisers in that market are doing. Are properties appraising, or are they coming in low? We do keep track of that data, and your agent will be able to advise you as to how appraisers are behaving in that market. And if you have the cash to make up the difference, you can waive the appraisal contingency. The second thing you can do, if you don't have all of that cash, or you don't have a good idea of where the property is going to appraise, you can keep the appraisal contingency, but put in a clause that says if the appraisal comes in up to $10,000 below purchase price, or whatever number makes you comfortable, you will make up the difference in cash. And that at least gives the seller the assurance that there's a window with the appraisal, and you will pay the cash to make sure the contingency is met and your lender will still fund the loan. The last is the financing contingency, and this one really does provide you with the most protection. Should you lose your job or the property not appraised, financing is denied and you can get out of the purchase of the house. The way our contract mechanics work in this area is the appraisal and financing are kind of hinged together. So often we are writing purchase offers with the financing contingency, but waiving the appraisal contingency. Talk to your agent about how your contract is drafted, what the language is. If you need to touch base with your title attorney on this, then certainly do that and figure out your best approach for minimizing those contingencies. The next thing I suggest that you do is write a love letter. And I have a video on the implications of the buyer love letter and the fair housing laws. And you certainly don't want to subject the seller to violating fair housing laws, but you can draft a love letter that doesn't include anything around protected classes. I think it's always worth doing. Selling a home is often personal to a seller, so whatever aspects of yourself or the house that don't tread on protected classes, certainly throw in a love letter. See if that helps the seller push your offer up to the top of the deck. So those are my suggestions. They've worked for my clients. I hope they work for you. If you have more questions about real estate, my name is Carol Kennedy. Thank you for watching.